Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I've got a great rack, I've got the blank. Do I have a bingo? Well, I'm not seeing one immediately, and I have 4 vowels, so let me run through the alphabet, mainly concentrating on consonants and see if anything jumps out at me. I think this will be fairly easy to deal with if I don't have a bingo. Just get rid of the K. Ah, well, I have tea-like. That'll do the job. And I don't think there's any point in looking any further. And this gets the K doubled. Tea-like for 80. And I draw the X, but the rest of the rack not so great. So I don't have a bingo here. But actually this isn't bad for a random rack. And there are a couple of spots for the X where it can get doubled twice, so I can play Ox underneath the K and X underneath the E and A. I also have a number of X words on my rack. Do I have any X plays which are 6 letters long? Well, not that reach the double. I have Orifex and Foxia. Okay, well, X exists still here. Is that the best I can do? It keeps a pretty ropey collection of vowels. That's 45 points. The E does have to go after OK. Okay, so what about further along? Gosh, so close to Foxia. Well, it fails with the L and the I. Not very close. Forex is another long word. Okay, I don't feel great about playing OX. What about playing XU? 38 points, and definitely nicer to see the E on the rack than the U. F and U have particularly poor synergy. I am going with zoo, and I draw another U, so delighted I got rid of the first one. And again, vowel heavy, but I have the F for score. Not too many opportunities for opponent. Wow, oh gosh, well I thought that was going to be a lot more. I thought the Z might be getting doubled, but it's not. So what I want to do is play the F and get rid of some of these vowels. Biz takes an E. AS takes very little. My F can go in front of AS. Farouk, well, that would end UK, and in any event isn't a word. Gosh, close to hexafoil. Can't see anything beginning or ending in hex. Okay, so quite a tricky spot. I can play Fua for 19 points. Gets rid of the U. Sorts the rack out. Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything better. And I draw the J, so I'm certainly having more than my share of the big tiles. This is the 3rd out of the 4. The J can go above the O, but that's a fairly obvious hotspot that opponent's likely to have his eye on. Raz takes an E at the end and an H and a P, but nothing else, so yeah, opponent takes out that spot. Lim takes a C in front. So I have a lead of about 40 points, which is fairly slender. Would vanish with a bingo. A butt is good. Can't reach the double word square. I have gaijin on my rack. Not seeing anywhere for that. I don't have anything which goes after Raz. Nothing coming down from the U. My A for a but. Well, I can play Adji. Only 16 points, but it sorts the rack out. This is a decent rack leave. Nothing goes in front of the J, so there is a 7-letter lane, but that would open access to column 15. And in any event, I'm just not seeing anything better than this. Well, what about Jag? This is better, it's 38 points. And it's a worse rack lead, but the score is so much better that it compensates for that. Is there anything even better? I don't think so. And Jag's nice because J takes nothing in front, GIF takes nothing in front, so opponent's really restricted here. Pretty much to row I, row J, possibly down column 14. I don't think Bo takes an S, but it might. Great, just 8 points for opponent. Fantastic sight. Now, my rack. And Vidal takes an O and a U. I have neither. I have the H for Rash. I'd like to get rid of the V. Can I do that? I have the A for a but. But I'm not seeing any AV plays there. Can't see any V plays which end in H. What about any... if only I had an E, I could play a VE play. E's have been pretty slim on the ground. Well, I guess I played 2 in T-like and then 1 in Fue. If I had one now, I could play Thieve. Do I have a play beginning UN? Gosh, again, if I had an E, I would have unitive. So opponent, although I was pleased to see he'd only got 8 points, is pretty much playing me at my own game by creating very limited openings. So what do I have here? I don't think Rast is good, so it's just the H. Now my T can go after but. Interesting. I think this feels like the play, despite its dreadful score. I'd much rather keep an H than a V, and the vowels help the H. And this isn't offering much for opponent. However, if opponent's got a bingo in row C, then I could be facing a board tighter than I want. Now, I'm just noticing column 11 is available for Albizia if I had ALIA, so I would have just needed an L for that. So I'll need to keep an eye on that. Can I play off one more vowel in this position? Well, only if I played the H here. I could play haint or hyant, keeping the vowel. Tempting. But I think my dislike of the V and not giving up a scoring spot in row H persuades me to go with this. Now I have Albizia. Will that stay available? Opponent bingos, but I think I'm going to get close to a bingo-y score with this. Albizia for 72. Indeed. Fantastic. So I maintain my 60-point lead. Pretty dreadful rack. I was going to say I still have the V, but I played the V, so actually I've drawn the second one, which again is a good reason for, well, it demonstrates one of the advantages of playing the V rather than the H. It avoids being faced with double V. Now this is a pretty awful rack. I could play Vint again in column 12. But I've got 3 high-scoring tiles. W and H do have some synergy, and the H goes with the C. Is there anywhere for in with? Close to unwive. Again, I'm lacking an E. I could play wit, keeping Vin. Sudsing was a nice play by opponent. Pretty unpromising set of tiles, and to find a bingo not ending in S when you've got a couple is a good spot. I can't get a scoring tile on this double letter square. Vint has really blocked the bottom left. I do have a lead. Interesting. What's opponent going to do if I play Vint? There are just so few bingo lanes. I guess Albizia takes an S and there's a floating A, but that's it. I'm going with Vint for 16. W and H do have synergy. Still no E's and a ton of E's to come, so maybe I'll be swamped with them at the end. I was just about to turn my mind to choking up the bottom of the board. Interesting. Nice bingo by opponent, but maybe... Well, I'm just wondering whether I could have used my V to block that spot. But anyway, now is not the time for that. So what am I going to do here? I now trail, but not by much. Onto an L, I would have downhill. Only the C as a floater. That's not available. Still 1 blank to come. So what I'm thinking about is playing WID. It opens up a bingo lane in row N. And if opponent bingo's there, I'll have access to triple word squares. And if I bingo, then I bingo. So WID for 29. Can I do any better than that? I don't think so. Not a great rack lead, especially if I duplicate any of the tiles, but there are no L's to come. What about a play over the top? What about Howl? 35 points. Nicer rack leave. Doesn't create a bingo lane. But I think we're pretty much level, so I don't need to create one. Yeah, I am going with this. I draw the Q, but I have some quite nice tiles to go with it. Chi, Chin, Caddycade, Kindar. Not sure if any of those play. Another advantage of Howl is that it limits what opponent can do. Just 13 points, fantastic. And I don't think opponents provided anywhere for a good Q play. Gosh, if I had the right tiles, I could have had Kiviot in row B. So there is an I for Chin. Cat, but not IL. Woe doesn't take anything I've got. No LAQ plays. Now, let me check the remaining vowels. 13 out of 30, so a balanced bag. So playing off 2 consonants, not great, especially with 3 O's to come. Drawing an O would really diminish this rack. But I don't think there's anywhere I can play the O. Now I can play Chi here, playing off a vowel rather than a consonant for the same score. So that's better. Nothing goes in front of Udall. Nothing goes between V and H. Okay, I'm not seeing anything better than this. Chi for 24. Well, through an I would have ordinary. The only floater is the C. Not seeing anything through that. Wow, I have a 35-point lead. That is so slender. And that's pretty much vanished. Nice play by opponent. So I have the Y for score. Where can I score without creating an opportunity for opponent? And that's the real challenge. Anything down from the N? No S's to come, but one blank. Limmy is good, but YEE isn't. 7 minutes on my clock, that's not very much. So what about a play through the V? What about a play through the I? And I'm really anxious not to provide opponent with something. I'm going with Yerd. It does take an S, but opponent would have to place his blank in exactly third position. Keeping... This is not a nice keep. How many points am I getting? 16. That's not very many. So what about playing Dory here? 3 fewer points, but burning that O, turning over one more tile, not creating the blank spot. I am going with this, and I draw an O, so I'm glad to have gotten rid of it. Now, I think I have unworn. Not a great word, but it certainly sorts the rack out and turns over tiles with this blank to come. Stops in row N, doesn't take an S, does place an O next to this double letter square. Wow, fantastic bingo for opponent, 64 points. He now leads by 43 points, that's a lot. Unworn has been blocked. And he's burnt the blank, so no hooks for liar available. Wow. Okay, 5 minutes on my clock. Is there any way back? I have non-war on my rack. Not seeing anywhere for that. So I have 6 tiles left. I can play Rowan for 39. Okay, well this may be close. Only F and Y to come of the scoring tiles. I dodged both of them, 1 tile in the bag. No bingo lane, so even if this rack did form a bingo, I don't think there would be anywhere for it to go. And I think if opponent's got the F and the Y, and he's certainly got 1, he should be able to score enough to get over the line. I have only got 1 pointers. I have Ava in row B, only 20 points. I'm 4 points behind at the moment. No, I'm not. As opponent just played, he has 4, yeah. So I trail by 40 points. Opponent, I don't think, is going out in 1, but I'm not going to overcome a 40-point deficit. Thal may be good. So opponent does have toted in column 3. And I think that's his only out, so I should block that. How can I do that? I'm not sure I can. I don't think there's any way I can block that. Okay. Well, I'm minded to play Ava for 20. If opponent doesn't spot the out, then I suspect I've got 2 spots for my tiles. Ah, fantastic play. Oda and recouped for 32 points. So I have nay up here for 13. Can I do any better? 3 minutes on my clock. So that's 13 points. Nothing through the eye. No, so I am going with nay. And the final score, 430 for me, 461 for my opponent, a winning margin of 31 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. That was a close game. And it was me to go first, and I have T-like, but also Catan for the same score. Opponent's rack. No bingo, plays bow. Now, what do? I play zoo, but I-12. Well, exo playable, but it does take an N, so I prefer my play. Opponent's rack, and opponent does have an N, so he could have played Zin or Zins. Plays Saz for 31. Feitur, that's nice, E7. Coming down through this T for only 12 points, but totally sorting the rack out. What do? I get 9 more points for Fue, keeping AI. So is E 7 points better than AI? Well, E is worth plus 0.5. AI must be worth about minus 5 or 6, so there could be about a 7-point difference there. So very little to choose between those moves. Opponent's rack plays Lim, and I played Jag for 38, but A4. Jingal available down onto this L for 44 points. That would have been nice. Opponent's rack. Interesting. So he plays just a D, knowing that he's got the U for Udall. Wow. And keeping Dingus and drawing an S for a bingo. Very nice. So my rack, H1. The T hook for GIF. Gosh, I didn't consider that. I was looking at the T hook for butt, and I overlooked the GIF hook. Those plays would have been a lot better. So I play Vint for 15. Opponent gets his bingo down, the only one. Great spot. And now I have Albizia for 72. So I felt I was in good shape here. Tight board, and I have a bingo's lead. Opponent plays Kang. What do? I play Vint for 16. J9. Raz takes a T, so thin available. But keeping double IVW, that's pretty grim. So I play Vint. Keeping WHI. Is WHI 16 points better than IIVW? Interesting. Well, IIVW is atrocious, and I would say is between minus 15 and minus 20. And WHI, I think it's not bad. It's not bingo-y, but it's scory. So I would put that at close to 0. So I think there could be a 15-point difference in rack leaves, and there's a 16-point difference in score. So I prefer the play with the better rack leave, which is the play I made. Now, fantastic bingo by opponent. Moilers also playable at A14. Bow does take an S. And Moralize, K8 through the A. So a choice of bingos there. My rack. And I play Howl for 35. I thought about Wid for 41, but I much prefer this rack leave. It feels so much more bingo-y than LNO. And it is a better rack leave, so these moves are going to be close. Now, opponent's got a lot of ease, plays a double E. I have the Q and I play Chi at B2, that was my play. And at this point I still lead. Opponent plays Nepet, which was a great spot. And I have this rack, N7. Interesting, Dory for 21 points. Sticking an O above the triple word square. Very tricky. I play the same tiles at the top. Yeah, and I don't like playing Dory. It's not really taking out a bingo lane. It's only doing so at the expense of creating another. So I still like my play. And this is a fantastic bingo by opponent. He's got a choice of bingos, recoup and up cheer, both quite tricky to see, so great spot, and both playable in the same spot because of Lou for up cheer. So now I'm in trouble. I trail by 43 points, tight board, only 6 tiles in the bag. I play Rowan for 39, and it really now comes down to who's got the F and the Y, and opponent has both. Plays Foy, and the bag's empty, and I trail by 40 points. So I play Ava for 20, but these are all losing plays. And there's the toted out, but opponent may have seen that and preferred to play recouped. It's only 9 more points, so I'm sure going out would have been better, because it would have denied me the opportunity of scoring 13 points at the end and getting count back. So, what a game. Very tight, and it was a tight board as well, and I had a good lead, and then opponent managed to sneak in with a couple of great bingos of Moilers and recoup, and then I was down by 40 points with no way back. So, congratulations again to my opponent on a great victory. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.